I now invite the Honourable Kwankwa.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, the UDM supports Budget Vote 1. South Africa faces enormous socio-economic challenges: stubborn unemployment, deep poverty, rising inequality, and sluggish economic growth. Yet, despite these challenges, our economy remains one of the most developed and diversified on the continent. That reality makes South Africa a magnet for migrants seeking economic opportunities, including those who enter or remain in our country illegally. President, we want to make it categorically clear that on the issue of illegal immigration, we stand with South Africans who are calling for the lawful enforcement of our immigration laws. President, no country in the world is expected to simply look the other way when faced with illegal and undocumented migration. No country is told that enforcing its laws is somewhat immoral. Yet in South Africa, whenever the issue is raised, we are immediately subjected to lectures, labels, and moral grandstanding. South Africans are told that they must not complain, they must not ask questions, they must not expect their laws to be enforced. They must simply absorb the consequences and remain silent. What is even more remarkable, President, is the persistent attempt to reduce this complex issue to race. We are constantly told by those who are intellectually lazy that white undocumented foreigners are not targeted. Well, if they were competing for jobs in Guguletu, in Tanzania, in Kaili, Chakwamashu, and Soweto, if they were concentrated in township economies, petrol stations, restaurants, and informal businesses, if they were directly competing for some opportunities and limited resources that millions of poor South Africans rely on, they too would be part of this debate. The reality is that the issue is not primarily about race, it's about economics, it's about opportunity, unemployment, competition for scarce resources. Pretending otherwise may be politically convenient for some, but it does nothing to address the legitimate concerns of South Africans who live with these realities on a daily basis. But apparently pointing out this obvious fact has somehow become controversial. President, we are also Pan-Africanists, but we are not naive. We reject this tame version of Pan-Africanism that appears only when South Africa is expected to make sacrifices. We are told that South Africans must carry the burden of poor leadership and governance failures elsewhere on the continent. We are told that South Africans must never complain. We are told that South Africans must never ask difficult questions. I therefore want to ask a number of questions which are important. Where is this Pan-Africanism when African leaders are bought by the West and Morocco to vote against African interests in international forums such as the IPU? Where is this Pan-Africanism when South Africa came under fire under sustained verbal attacks from the US during your G20 presidency? Lastly, and perhaps more importantly, where was Pan-Africanism when 14 South African soldiers paid with their lives in pursuit of peace and stability on the continent? 14 lives lost, families shattered, coffins draped in South African flag. What happened afterwards? The DRC and the US signed agreements giving American companies priority access to the DRC's mineral wealth. America secured the deal. We buried our soldiers. Too often, solidarity is demanded from South Africa but barely reciprocated. Solidarity, President, without reciprocity is exploitation. Partnership without mutual benefit is dependency. And the Pan-Africanism without accountability is a scam and merely a slogan, and we reject it with the contempt it deserves. We therefore support the enforcement of South Africa's immigration laws. At the same time, we reject violence, intimidation, and attacks against foreign nationals. The rule of law must prevail. Ke a leboga.
Alibongwe.